The rain fell steadily over the city, blurring the glass walls of Blackstone Holdings into a gray mirror of ambition and wealth. Inside the towering building, executives hurried through polished halls, their voices sharp, their shoes clicking with purpose. At the very top floor, Ethan Blackwood, Billionaire founder and CEO, stood alone by his window. He had everything: money, power, respect. Yet the reflection staring back at him looked unsettled. Reports lay open on his desk. Rising complaints, employee dissatisfaction, customer distrust. Numbers were strong, but the soul of the company felt hollow. Ethan remembered when Blackstone had been built on fairness and vision, not fear. "Something is broken," he murmured. That morning, instead of attending meetings, Ethan made a decision that would change everything. Hours later, the city barely recognized him. His tailored suit was gone, replaced with a faded jacket and worn jeans. He rubbed dirt onto his hands, slouched his posture, and let exhaustion settle into his expression. When he looked in a cracked mirror near the subway station, the billionaire was gone. In his place stood a man the world would rather ignore. Ethan positioned himself outside his own building. Employees streamed past him like rushing water. Some glanced at him briefly, their eyes flickering with discomfort before looking away. Others tightened their grip on designer bags and quickened their pace. "Disgusting," one woman muttered under her breath. A security guard approached, scowling. "You can't stay here. You're scaring people." "I just need something to eat," Ethan replied calmly. The guard shoved him a step back. "Move along." Ethan felt the cold pavement beneath his thin shoes. His heart sank. Not from hunger, but realization. These were his people, his company. Minutes passed, then hours. Just as the rain intensified, a small figure stopped in front of him. She was young, with tired eyes and a gentle face. Her uniform was plain, her shoes scuffed. She clutched a simple paper lunch bag. "Sir," she said softly, kneeling slightly to meet his gaze, "are you hurt?" Ethan looked up, surprised by the warmth in her voice. "No, just hungry." Without hesitation, she opened her lunch and handed it to him. "I made it this morning. Please take it. You'll go hungry," he said. She smiled, quiet, sincere. "I'll manage." As she walked toward the service entrance, Ethan stared after her, stunned. Among hundreds who had passed him, only one person had truly seen him. And she had nothing to spare, except kindness. The next morning arrived colder than the last. A sharp wind cut through the streets, carrying with it the scent of rain and exhaust. Ethan Blackwood returned to the same spot outside Blackstone Holdings, his disguise unchanged, his resolve heavier. He wanted to believe that Lily had been an exception, that others might show the same humanity if given another chance. They didn't. Executives brushed past him, speaking into phones, never slowing. One man nearly stepped on his outstretched hand and didn't apologize. A woman wrinkled her nose and crossed the street. Security watched him closely now, fingers resting near their radios. Then Lily appeared. She pushed her cleaning cart toward the service entrance, her shoulders slumped with exhaustion. When she noticed Ethan, she stopped short. "You're still here," she said, concern flooding her voice. "Did you eat?" "Not really," Ethan answered truthfully. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a few crumpled coins. She counted them carefully, lips pressed together. After a brief hesitation, she placed them into his palm. "That's my bus money," she admitted quietly. "But I can walk." "You shouldn't," Ethan said. "You work too hard." She shrugged. "Some days are harder for others." As she turned away, a sharp voice cut through the air. "Hey, what do you think you're doing?" A supervisor stood near the entrance, arms crossed, eyes cold. "Stop encouraging vagrants. You're not paid to socialize." Lily stiffened. "I was just helping him." The supervisor scoffed and kicked Ethan's small cup, sending the coins scattering across the wet pavement. "People like him don't deserve charity." Time seemed to slow. Lily dropped to her knees without thinking, gathering the coins with shaking hands. Rain soaked through her uniform as tears slipped down her cheeks. She said nothing. Ethan's chest burned with rage. He wanted to stand, to reveal himself, to end it all right there. But he stayed still. This wasn't just a test anymore, it was proof. The supervisor walked away, laughing. Lily stood, wiping her face quickly. She offered Ethan a small, embarrassed smile. "I'm sorry about that. You have nothing to apologize for," Ethan said softly. That night, Ethan followed her from a distance. Lily walked miles through dark streets, feet aching, until she reached a cramped apartment with peeling paint. Inside, she collapsed onto the couch, too tired to cry. Ethan turned away, his jaw tight. Back in his penthouse, he removed the disguise and opened his laptop. He replayed the events in his mind, every cruel word, every turned back. He opened a new document. Subject: immediate action required. At the top of the list, he typed one name, Lily Carter, and beneath it, many others. Because kindness, Ethan realized, should never be punished. The email arrived at precisely 8 a.m. Mandatory all-staff meeting, main conference hall. No explanation, no agenda. By 9 o'clock, the hall was packed. Executives filled the front rows, managers stood along the walls, and cleaners and junior staff sat quietly near the back. Whispers rippled through the room, rumors of layoffs, budget cuts, or a possible merger. Lily Carter slipped into a seat near the aisle, hands clasped tightly in her lap. Her uniform was freshly washed but still worn. She felt small in the vast room, her heart pounding. The lights dimmed. A tall man in a tailored black suit walked onto the stage. The room gasped. Ethan Blackwood, the billionaire founder, rarely appeared in person. His presence alone demanded silence. Ethan scanned the crowd slowly, his gaze calm but sharp. Then he spoke. "For the past 4 weeks, he said evenly, I have been watching this company very closely." A murmur spread. "Not from the top floor," he continued, "but from the streets outside this very building." Confusion turned to unease. Ethan nodded toward the screen behind him. The lights flickered, and video footage began to play. A hooded, unshaven man stood in the rain outside Blackstone Holdings. Recognition dawned across the room. Gasps, shocked whispers, pale faces. "That man," Ethan said, "was me." Silence crashed down like thunder. The footage continued. Employees walking past, insults muttered, security pushing him away. Some people shifted uncomfortably, others stared at the floor. Then the screen changed. A young woman stepped into frame, holding a paper lunch bag. Lily froze. The camera showed her kneeling, offering food, later giving coins, later picking them up from the ground. A spotlight slowly found her in the audience. "Lily Carter," Ethan said gently, "please stand." Her legs trembled as she rose. Hundreds of eyes turned toward her. She wanted to disappear. "Lily earns less than most people in this room spend on coffee," Ethan continued. "Yet she gave what she had, without knowing who I was." He paused, his voice thickening. "That is integrity." Applause began softly, then grew thunderous. Ethan raised a hand, and the room quieted. "Several individuals seen in this footage are no longer employed here," he said firmly. Effective immediately. A few managers went pale. Then Ethan turned back to Lily. "As for you," he said, "you reminded me why this company exists." He smiled. "And why it must change." Tears streamed down Lily's face as the room rose to its feet. For the first time in her life, kindness had been seen and rewarded. The weeks following the meeting felt unreal to Lily Carter. Her life changed quietly at first. A new ID badge arrived with a different title beneath her name. Meetings replaced mop buckets. People who once looked through her now stood when she entered a room. Yet Lily remained the same. Ethan Blackwood watched these changes closely. From his glass office, he saw how the company began to shift. Smiles replaced tension. Managers spoke with care. Security guards opened doors instead of shoving people away. Change, he learned, was contagious. Lily threw herself into her new role as Director of Community Outreach. She created programs to provide meals for the homeless, emergency funds for struggling employees, and scholarships for janitorial and service staff. She insisted that compassion training be mandatory, not as punishment, but as education. One afternoon, Ethan invited her to lunch. They met at a small cafe, nothing extravagant. Lily arrived nervous, hands folded neatly on the table. "You don't have to be afraid," Ethan said gently. "You earned your place." "I never wanted a reward," Lily replied. "I just didn't want him to be treated like he didn't exist." Ethan nodded slowly. "That's exactly why you deserve this." He slid a folder across the table. Inside was confirmation of her full scholarship, housing support for her mother, and a long-term contract with the company. Lily's breath caught. "This is too much. It's still less than what your kindness gave me," Ethan said. Outside, rain began to fall, the same rain that once soaked Ethan's borrowed coat. Lily glanced toward the street, remembering the man she had helped without question. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked. "The test." Ethan considered the question carefully. "I regret that I needed one." Weeks later, a bronze plaque was mounted near the building entrance. Employees stopped to read it every day. This company was rebuilt on kindness. Those who show compassion build the strongest foundations. On opening day of the company's new outreach center, Lily stood beside Ethan as families received warm meals and support. Cameras flashed, but Lily focused on the faces, relieved, grateful, seen. As the crowd thinned, Ethan turned to her. "You know," he said, smiling, "you're richer than most billionaires I know." Lily laughed softly. "So are they, if they choose to be." As the sun broke through the clouds, Lily understood something clearly. She hadn't changed because her life improved. Her life improved because she never changed. And in that truth, she found the greatest wealth of all.